NPCs are alive, and presumably they have rights, at least allegedly. But when I look into the soulless eyes of Kenneth Haight, I clench my fist before hitting him with a stiff 1-2. But today, I will not be abusing the game's NPCs, and I will be fully dependent on them, like some sort of parasite. So, what does this entail? All equipment that goes on my person must be either purchased from a merchant or given to me by an NPC. This will drastically affect my talisman selection and result in a limited supply of available weapons. I will have access to any items that go into the key items category for a reason that I will disclose shortly. I choose to start as the rich as I want to be truly dependent on the NPCs, so I also left my club behind. This is our champion, Flurbentroop, and he's a bit of a soy boy, low-T cuck, but maybe by going through this experience, it will fortify his being. But that's for later, as right now I have to deal with our first problem, which will explain why key items are allowed. To leave the Chapel of Anticipation, you must first grab the tarnished wizened finger, and if you don't, then you'll be confined to this place to never escape. So I thought, much like drugs, if I must use this one, then I might as well just use them all. My therapist tells me that that's like some sort of sunken cost fallacy or something, I don't know, but let's just jump into the video. Now I'm naked and afraid, with no weapon, no runes, and no maidens. My first priority is getting a maiden, so I head over here to the gatefront side of Grace to meet Melina so that I can get Torrent. Now I need runes so I can buy a weapon, and the best way to get an excess of runes is to use this waygate and travel deep into Caelid. Once I got to everybody's fourth favorite farming ground, I need to make a choice, to battle the horse on the bridge or to just get some quick runes by playing with some balls. So I first decided that I should just get a few runes so I could afford a weapon, so I led this ball into the pit. Having left Limgrave, Melina now believes in me in a way that my parents never did, and she invites me to the Round Table Hold. With a number of runes significantly higher than 0, I can acquire a weapon, and there's quite the selection, but I went with the classic longsword, but this is just temporary, and for now, my build will be non-existent, until I have the weapon that I planned for. Don't worry though, because I have a plan, and I'm sure that there will be no complications at all. I then returned to Caelid because I have some unfinished business with a certain horse on a certain bridge. It was a bit difficult as the Knight's Cavalry wasn't falling for my usual shenanigans, but you see, I just needed to be less predictable and I had to think one step ahead. So I went with a different strategy. I killed myself and then I let peer pressure do the rest. Worked just as planned. And I put most of the points into health, but I also put 5 into dex and strength. I have a bit more housekeeping to do before I can proceed, but I'll make sure to get through this fast. I purchased a shield from the merchant in Mistwood, and then I headed to Fort Haight and killed the Godric Knight. That rhymed, that was weird. Then grabbed the Dectus medallion. I then went south to the Weeping Peninsula to grab my first talisman, the Crimson Amber medallion, which isn't great, but well, I have a slot open. Next, I went back to the Church of Ella and Ronnie is waiting for me. And I think that Flurbentroop has fallen for her. But she also gives me the Spirit Caller Bell, which I can use, but I only used a few times in this run, and I'll let you know when I did. Finally, I returned to Kenneth Haight to complete his little quest, and this will be important for later. Now, with all that out of the way, we can head into Stormvale. By the way, I did buy a bunch of smithing stones from the local merchants, but I haven't used them yet. I proceeded to circle beat a homeless man, and well, he didn't last long, but I came close to dying because I only have 4 flasks and they don't heal for shit. This would continue to be a problem until I decide to axe that part of the challenge, which I'll explain later. But for now, you can watch me struggle with different solutions, which all fail. My first solution to the flask problem was to use incantations instead, so I bought some from the Corn Man and used those for a bit. As I made my way through Stormvale, I unlocked this room and picked up the Godskin prayer book, which I would utilize later in the run. For now though, I made sure to talk to Nepheli to get her quest started as she'll end up giving us our next talisman. Now for Godric, and I could have summoned Nepheli to help with Godric, but I mean, it's Godric. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if I'm really in Stormvale Castle at all, or if I've just broken into an old folks' home and I'm abusing the elderly. But it doesn't matter because I win and we take those. With Godric finished, we can go back to the Round Table hold and receive the Arsenal charm for my second talisman slot. I also got my final golden seed for the next 10 to 15 hours from Rodrika, as yeah, I did her questline. Now for Liurnia, and my first stop is the Lyscar ruins to use the Waygate to fast travel to the Academy. Then it's as easy as jumping off here and then heading this way where we'll find the Sleeping Dragon, and behind them is the Glintstone key we need. Before I enter the Academy, I make sure to stop by and tell the Turtle Pope howdy and give him the Godskin prayer book. Once I'm inside the Academy, it's smooth sailing, as my time improving my Michael Vick impression pays off as I beat down Radagon's dog pretty quickly. Before I fight Renala, there are some things that I need to do, such as tricking Moonman over here into killing himself and grabbing the Glintstone Wet Blade, which will be useful later, but now I still need to upgrade my current weapon, so let's enter the mines. With the first Smithing Stone bell bearing in hand, I returned to the Round Table hold and upgraded my longsword to +6. And now is a good time to explain how upgrading weapons will work in this challenge. So this portion of the challenge will kind of function like a Nuzlocke, as really only Smithing Stones 1s and 2s appear in shops, unless you use the bell bearings. So I won't be able to upgrade my weapons any further until I can get those bell bearings. For example, until I beat Morgott, my max upgrade level will be +12 on regular weapons and +4 on somber weapons. So basically, I'm bottlenecked in how much damage I'm allowed to do, and this will result in issues later in the challenge, as I ended up running into a shortfall on both healing and damage. But I intend to let future me deal with that, so let's get back to fighting Renala. Beating her is about as difficult as you may expect beating a widow with a gang of mentally challenged children to be. Now, with access to my third talisman slot, I figure that I should get some more talismans. First I do Millicent's quest to receive the Prosthesis Wearer's heirloom, and while in Caelid I pick up the second half of the Dectus medallion. Suddenly, Flurban base instincts take over and they instinctually path him towards his object of desire, Ronnie. Which is fine with me because we need to go do her quest to get the next 2 talismans. First we just have to avoid the magical artillery strikes to gain access to Caria Manor. Then the only thing separating Flurban from Ronnie is Loretta, but the fetal alcohol syndrome is strong with the Flurban and he prevails. Flurban enters Ronnie's rise and removes all of his clothes to assert his lack of dominance. Ronnie seems to see something in him that I can't, and respects him, or maybe it's more that she pities him, or maybe she just sees a useful idiot. Regardless, we are now in her employment, and we have access to the Carrion Filigreed crest. Then a bunch of boring shit happened. I talked to Blyde in the Sulfria River area, and he says some weird shit about wanting to bite Celavis, but we were gonna go talk to Celavis regardless, and he tells us to talk to Selen. But before we leave, we start his little quest and he gives me the potion. After talking to Selen, she quite literally tells me that I need to move the fucking stars to help Ronnie. Finally, I returned to Blyde and we went off to the festival. Before I fought Radon, I realized that I probably should upgrade my weapon, as it's still at only +6. So now just to take the lift up and grab the Smithing Stone bell bearing too. While in Altus, I took care of some other business, such as grabbing the Amber Starlight Shard and intruding on Magnus Beastman 3 times as part of Vare's quest. When I returned to the Round Table to upgrade my weapon, I also gave Gideon Celavis's potion. And then I gave Celavis the Amber Starlight Shard after buying 2 of his puppets, and now we have one of our last possible talismans, the Magic Scorpion Charm, which is a critical part of my special plan. I also did the rest of Vare's quest after I returned to the Chapel of Anticipation to get the items for Nefeli's quest, finishing that one too. Now to fight Radon, and I did summon, but don't worry, this will end up being both a waste of my time and your time. But it does end up being pretty funny, so let's continue. I went down Radon's hole to get the treasure that Ronnie has been after presumably for years, the Fingerslayer Blade. After I give it to her, she just fucking dips out, but Flurban has a nose like a bloodhound, and he tracks her down. Ronnie is now in tiny doll form, and she's lucky that Flurban hasn't had access to jars since what happened in the incident of 2011, so she demands that we kill the baleful shadow. And We do so because Flurban struggles to think for himself. She then leaves us to our own devices, but gives us a key that I plan on adding to my desk drawer that contains my collection of assorted junk. Now, after we make the long march across the Lake of Rot, we can take a coffin ride to Estelle's arena. Estelle can be a pretty tough boss for idiots like me, so I decided to press the big red button and exercise the nuclear option. I called in my Latena Tactical AC-130 and she showered Estelle with depleted uranium rounds, allowing me to have a little bit of breathing room in the fight. Now with Estelle defeated, I just need to grab the Dark Moon ring from Renala's room, and now Flurban can enter the Cathedral of Manus Celis to reunite with his beloved Ronnie. This path he has traversed has hardened him as a man and reinforced his jawline. He is now truly worthy. Ronnie thanks us and declares us her consort, and with that comes the Moonlight Greatsword. But wait, why is it not popping up? It was at this moment everything changed, and my mind shattered into a million pieces as I saw my life flash before me. So, fuck. I thought that she gave you the weapon and didn't just leave it on the ground, so by the rules of the challenge, I can't use it. This completely changes everything, as my entire plan was to limp my way through Ronnie's questline so I could get the Moonlight Greatsword and then proceed to steamroll through the rest of the game, but okay, so after I broke my sobriety, I came up with a new plan, but I want to warn you before I begin. I will be going absolutely spastic for the rest of this challenge, as my master plan and all expectations of this challenge have crumbled right before my very eyes. I now, like a rabid beast, will be doing whatever I see fit to get out of this with no more than 2 keyboard fatalities. My first objective at this point was to have an affair. Ronnie betrayed me by not just handing me my weapon. I mean, how could she? She had to have known that that was what the challenge was. But finding a good way to have my revenge will take some time, so first I'll deal with the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and I really hate this guy. Or more accurately, I hate this guy's horse because how much it spams the L2 button, but now he can join his brothers up in the Big Elmer's glue factory in the sky. Then, I had an idea. One night, while participating in one of my favorite pastimes, browsing the wiki, I saw a weapon, and I remembered an interaction. To get back at Ronnie, I would usurp control of the Rhea Lucaria Academy with the help of Selin. In the process, I'd receive the Glintstone Chris and send Renala to the naughty corner. By the way, you may be wondering why Selin hasn't transmutated into a sentient ball yet. Well, that's because her questline has 2 parallel tracks. One about her wanting to research the primeval current, and the other about freeing her from captivity and helping her defeat Jaren. And well, I just never finished the primeval half. As like a designated driver, I make sure to take away her keys to her own destruction. So now, Selin and I can reign over the academy as Lord and Lady while leaving Ronnie on red. With my revenge plot finished, let's get back to the warpath. And by the way, you might have noticed that I'm wearing a different armor set, and yeah, I bought it from the old people in the round table hold. And I also bought Radahn's set, which I think I end up using later, so just wanted to let you know. Lindell was not much of a problem, as the range of the Chris allowed me plenty of room to lobotomize anybody who dared try and touch my fragile body. Once I got to the Erdtree Sanctuary, it was time to fight Goldfree, and it was easy with my Glintstone Chris paired with the Cold Dagger. You thought I forgot about the Magic Wet Blade. Then I proceeded to get bodied by the Black Knife Assassin like 3 times. At last, it's time for us to challenge Emperor Norton, King of the Homeless. And well, this would be the last time I use Latena, and the final fight before the Flask rule change. Melania then gave me the World Medallion, which I quickly used to get up to the mountaintops where my next 2 bell bearings are. I then went back to Stormveil Castle and completed Nefeli's quest, in which she rewarded me with an Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, and I was now able to purchase 1 more Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone from Gostock. Returning to the mountaintops of the Giants with a +18 Standard and +6 Somber, which was the first part of a dire problem that ended up leading to the death of 2 keyboards and 1 controller. So, here's the thing. I was not prepared for this challenge. As I've already stated, my plan was to go for the Moonlight Greatsword, but well, that didn't work out. And without a powerful weapon, and while still holding only 5 plus 0 flasks, this was bad. I went through many different builds in this part of the game, and none of them seemed to work. I spent close to 6 hours smashing my head into Fire Giant's feet. Maybe a better man could have done this, but I'm not that man, and I need this video to get out. So in an executive decision, I decided to upgrade my flash to 10 uses and plus 12. This felt dirty, but at this point I was completely in shambles. Maybe one day I'll try this challenge again, and even avoid all the key items that I can as well. But for now, let's just finish this up. Fire Giant finally falls with the help of a little bit of black flame. After Melania immolated both the Erdtree and herself, I couldn't care less, as all that mattered now was finishing the game. I found the Somber Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 4 at the start of Fair Missoula, which was great and all, but the next boss didn't really care that my Somber weapon was at plus 8. But the thing they don't know is that I don't care either, and I'm pulling a reverse Bernie Sanders and requesting the assistance from Bernie himself. He's mainly just there to face tank all the aggro, and I don't really care because I fundamentally do not respect this boss fight. You may think that that's cheap, but well, 1, this is a challenge about utilizing NPCs, 2, I don't care as I'm moments away from having a life-threatening aneurysm, and 3, I can't wait for you to see what I did with Godfrey. After defeating the Godskin duo, I got the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 4 and the Somber Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 5. Now at Malekith, I am fully armed as a stinky plus 9 int build, and this time I brook thee no quarter. With Death now unleashed, we're now on to Gideon, and as always, he's a piece of shit. But soon enough, I was able to beat the shit out of him and let him know that I was going to do the horizontal tango with his daughter. That wasn't originally the plan, but because I am a pro gamer, I have never had to fight Hoaraloo for more than 30 seconds, so I'm completely unfamiliar with his second phase attacks and timing. So after Godfrey bullied me for an hour or two, and I earned a gold medal in mental gymnastics, I made the executive decision that Nefeli's coming with me to beat up her granddad, as I did her quest, and I deserve this, damn it. Don't worry though, I'll be fighting Radagon raw, with no life alert. I had to learn every single one of his moves, and I did, and I got to the point where I could predict what move was coming seconds before it even happened. Elden Beast took me only like 4 tries, and 50% of those were fucked over by Elden stars. But eventually, even the sentient cosmic matter fell before me. Now I was free to reign over this world with Selen by my side. But when the end came, I was struck with another betrayal. Flurpendroop is not the man I thought he was. I couldn't believe it. He summoned Ronnie and like a fucking idiot. Or maybe this was his plan all along. I was offended at first, but quickly I decided that my best move was to close the game and wash my hands of this entire challenge. This video has been an absolute shit show from all available perspectives. But if you're hearing this right now, then I thank you. I know this video probably won't do very well, but I've spent far too much time working on this video, so it's coming out whether I want it to or not. So let me know just how disappointed you are in me in the comments. And if you have any other ideas for videos, because I read every single comment. Other than the standard YouTube blathering about the liking and subscribing, I'd like to thank you again for watching and wish you a wonderful rest of your day.